sessions, we were discussing about UPSC mains preparation. And in the last session, precisely, specifically, we were dealing with answer writing techniques or answer writing practices with regard to UPSC examination. And in this session also, I may be continuing my discussion on answer writing precisely for UPSC mains examination and how to write answers exactly for different papers, maybe for GS1, GS2, GS3 and GS4 precisely. So already we were discussing 3 or 4 questions and all those 4 questions belong to GS1 clearly. And I told you very precisely before that whenever you approach a question, you need to identify what are the keywords involved in that question. First keyword is definitely the prompting word, that is what you are supposed to do. It is actually an action word, we can say. That exactly what you are supposed to do with this question or what you are supposed to precisely write in that answer. Rather, what position you should take in that particular answer. That part is already over. And once that part is over, you need to understand there are several words like how, why, analyze, evaluate, briefly explain, elucidate, assess, and many similar words. Okay, and does all these words carry the same meaning? This is often a difficult question in the sense the reality is that certainly all those words never carry the same meaning, which means you need to approach every single action word in giving priority to what you are supposed to do. Imagine I may give 2-3 examples. You need to explain something. What is explain? You're actually opening a shell, an explanatory shell, and you're telling about something. Imagine, explain the course of Second World War. What is the course of Second World War? This is a previous question. Course in the sense how the Second World War began. We know very well that the phony war led by Hitler initially, how it progressed over a period of time, and how the war came to an end with the defeat of the Axis powers and the success of the Allied powers and the emergence of USA as a world power, as the topmost unipolar, not unipolar but bipolar, with USSR on the other side, world power. So you are supposed to explain in whatever ways you could without leaving the essence of the event. That is what is supposed you have to do. On the other hand, the question is like this: explain briefly. Naturally, a brief explanation is required in the sense you need to downsize as we edit a video, as we edit an answer into a particular number of words or particular set of sentences. You need to downsize the total space, you need to compress the total space into a limited area, and then you need to write that answer. Because you're not supposed to explain everything, you're supposed to explain it briefly. So there again, that brevity is very important and concise explanation is required. Unnecessary details, unnecessary tales has to be fettered off and exact point has to be mentioned. Analysis already we discussed, nothing more to say about that. Again, what is evaluation? Analysis and evaluation have a close connection with each other since evaluation is analysis but something more than that. Whatever you do in analysis, you're supposed to do in evaluation also. But the difference lies in the point that in analysis you stop exactly where you discuss the pros, cons and impact of something, and maybe you may also speak out your own opinion about it. Evaluation, in evaluation also, if you are supposed to evaluate a question, same thing has to be done with one more thing to be added to that. And that one more thing is that you need to take a judgmental position regarding that particular incident or that particular reality. You need to act as a person who is endowed with discretion so that you can evaluate something objectively. I repeat my point. You can evaluate something objectively since you are discussing the whole gamut of things in a judgmental point of view. Unlike analysis, where analysis ends with what you say, the pros, cons, cause, effect, and finally your personal opinion. Evaluation, in evaluation, your personal opinion should be evaluative in the sense your personal discretion and judgment should directly come or should arrive at the answer. Then only that evaluation part is definitely complete. Once that is over, once evaluation is over, again assessment questions are coming. You need to assess something. What is assessing something? You're actually gauging the weight of something. You're actually gauging the length and breadth of something probably, where you yourself follow, you yourself put a measuring rod in your mind to initiate that process. Say for example, assess the role of United States of America in Cuban Missile Crisis. This is definitely a post-World War question connected to the Cold War. So definitely you need to speak something about the Cold War. After that, you need to come precisely to the Cuban Missile Crisis, where USSR, precisely USSR, positioned its missiles in Cuba. In Cuba, which is a very close country, which is a Latin American country, and those missiles were positioned in such a manner that it was targeted at USA. If a war erupts naturally, USSR can use that missile, since Cuba is a satellite country, or Cuba is an ally of USSR. That was the purpose of USSR, and that ultimately led to a simmering Cold War situation between these two countries, which was later resolved. Now you are supposed to speak about the role of USA precisely in triggering the Cuban Missile Crisis. There, of course, you are supposed to assess how USA played that role from your own point of view, not from the point of view any other author. Rather, from your own point of view, you are supposed to understand, supposed to sense and deliberate on this matter, and what all perceptions, conclusions you personally arrive at with regard to the role of USA in triggering the Cuban Missile Crisis. That is what is expected out of you. So that is where an assessment question comes to the picture. And once assessment is over, you can get again similar questions, similar keywords are used, like maybe how, why, okay, what, which are all direct and straightforward questions which we were answering for the past many years. And again, that why question, how question, and what question has to be addressed separately. Why means definitely that course is involved. How also involves a course, but that course of course is more important. In why, definitely the course. When it comes to how, you need to identify the course, and even you need to go back and explain how those courses acted as a course of events that led to a particular thing. Imagine, maybe we can bring forth a question for convenience. Imagine, why did the revolt of 1857 occur? This is a question. Another question is, identify how the revolt of 1857 happened. When we take these two questions together, why did the revolt of 1857 occur, or identify how the revolt of 1857 happened, the import of the question is same. There is no big difference. In both ways, you are supposed to give an answer that may be similar but not exactly the same, because if you take that why part of that question, you need to identify the precise factors and causes responsible for the revolt, and those causes to be held static would have contributed to the revolt, definitely. But when it comes to how, definitely that causes are not enough. You can mention those causes, no doubt, but again you need to say that in a dynamic point of view, how those causes actively participated, how those causes actively engaged with regard to a problem, with regard to a program of triggering of the revolt, precisely. So mere why question is not, why answer is not sufficient for a how answer. You need to describe a course of events. There a description is more involved in a how answer in comparison with that of a why answer. Again, as we mentioned the term description, sometimes the question may be a describe question. What is basically description? Description involves a detailed statement about that particular incident, where you yourself is an observer. You are actually observing the whole set of events, like something that happened before your eyes, and you need to explain the entire set of events as if like you are a first hand observer. I repeat, you need to discuss the entire course of events. You need to describe everything like a movie, maybe like a movie, as if like everything has happened before your inside, before your eyes. That is where descriptive understanding of something is involved. So again, as I stated before in the previous session, analysis carries a different meaning, assessment carries a different meaning, evaluation carries a different meaning, description carries a different meaning, and all these words should be first understood by a candidate before writing an answer. Now you understood all these words, and this is a mistake that we often do in writing mains answer. Whenever we see something, we may start writing without understanding what is the import of the question, what actually the question is expecting out of a candidate, and we may blame UPSC. Okay, valuation was not proper, or the examiner wouldn't have understood my answer properly. Such things. Actually, the real problem is that we haven't understood the question properly and we are blaming, okay, UPSC is responsible for the whole thing. That may not be a fair deal. This is the first part of my discussion today. And moving on to the second part, now I take precisely one particular paper, that is GS2 again for discussion. GS2, you know very well that it's a highly polity come international organization come constitutional paper. Previously, before introducing the new syllabus, this new syllabus came into force right from 2014, and before introducing the new syllabus, UPSC had an all different pattern of examination where you need to quote constitutional articles, you need to write about constitutional provisions, etc. in detail, and then only you can write an answer. Today, nothing is required. Today, if we see how GS2 is changing over a period of time, we can identify one thing, that you even need not know an article except a basic idea about it. You can write a good answer, in the sense that previously your memory was tested, and today in GS2 especially, it is not your memory, but it is your ability to understand something, ability to assess, and the word I used previously, analyze something, and to be more precise, critically analyze something is tested in all these papers, especially in GS2, because GS2 is a constitutional come governance come international relations paper, and maybe areas like social justice, etc. are also coming in this paper. Unlike the paper 3, which is more of an economic paper, naturally your critical analysis skills are tested in this paper. Again comes another question, how this analysis and critically analyzing is different. In analysis, of course, you are doing almost everything that you do in critical analysis, but in critical analysis, of course, you take the position of a person who is more interested to identify. That does not mean that you would never identify the other part. Who is more interested to identify the flows of a particular thing. I repeat the word FLAWS, flows. Flow in the sense, the problem or the issue that is involved in initiating or in implementing something. You may be more interested in identifying what is that flow or the potential flow, and you may be handling. Say for example, we can give a very recent example which is more familiar for you people. Critically analyze. Question is like this. Critically analyze the anti-COVID, or precisely critically analyze the corona containment measures of the government of Kerala. This is a question. It is a general question. We know very well that Kerala government has achieved unprecedented success in dealing with such a problem, unlike any other state in India. And today we are at the verge of almost containing corona fully. That is the truth. At the same time, there are certain problems involved. Definitely there are certain problems involved in our strategy, and those problems also has to be appreciated critically by the. That means no negative remark as such, but you need to identify what all are the precise issues involved in the strategy initiated by government of Kerala, though the strategy is successful. Even if any strategy is successful, definitely there may be some issues that is involved. Imagine critically analyze the success of the defense mechanism of India, the government of India in the war in Kargil sector, precisely during the NDA government. Of course, there are a lot of achievements that we made. In Kargil, it was a triumphant achievement. Even then, there were some problems involved in our strategy. We need to list out precisely what were those problems, and definitely the candidate should give an idea that how we can overcome those problems in the future. Again, in the future, we may be facing a similar situation. You need to precisely tell that how can you deal with these problems in the future out of the experience that you gain from this particular incident. Say for example, we gained experience out of Nipah, we gained experience out of similar pandemics, may not be pandemics but epidemics, and when a pandemic broke out, that experience helped us critically. So in the same manner, this experience should also help us in the future. Again, we dealt with flood in 2018 precisely, a huge flood, 19 again, and 20 also we don't know whether a flood is in the offing, we don't know. But the experience in 18 and 19 can be critically analyzed so that the advantages, the achievements and the minor defects can be pointed out, so that in the future those defects can be avoided. So the candidate should be such a person, such an individual who should definitely praise whatever good steps taken by the government, but he should not become a praise machine. Rather, he should point out the issues involved, minor lacunae or impediments involved, and he can definitely suggest certain measures to solve them and to successfully implement a program without any bottlenecks or any disability, so that his answer may become a perfect answer. Thank you.